Our poster presentation looks at the analyses of the reporting status and scope of current interventions for pediatric strabismus trials within the National Library of Medicine. Strabismus manifests as an ocular misalignment that, if untreated, may lead to amblyopia and an irreversible decrease in visual acuity and depth perception. And presenting patients are also at an increased risk for underlying intracranial processes or ocular malignancies such as retinoblastoma or uveal melanoma. Pediatric strabismus is one of the most common conditions for referrals to an ophthalmologist, with a worldwide prevalence of nearly 6%. Recently, there have been calls by the World Health Organization and the World Medical Association to address the unethical and dismissive use of research funding. Additionally, the Food and Drug Administration requires that all completed studies registered within the clinical trials database to submit results within 12 months of trial completion. Research through clinical trials is necessary to advance treatment options. Thus, our primary objective was to assess pediatric strabismus trials using the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's clinical trial database. Our secondary objective was to assess rates of pediatric strabismus trial discontinuation. We performed a search of the U.S. National Library of Medicine's clinical trials database at clinicaltrials.gov on October 8, 2024, to capture interventional clinical trials that included children. We collated trials by completion status and reported rates of the type of strabismus assessed, intervention type, trial phase, enrollment, location, and funding source. Of the 204 trials returned from the search, 77 met the inclusion criteria. Of the trials, the most frequent type of strabismus examined was exotropia, around 42% of trials, followed by general strabismus, 31%, and esotropia, 16% of trials. And the most common interventions used were surgical, at 41% of trials, and devices at 29% of trials. Egypt had the most registered pediatric strabismus trials at 27%, followed by the United States at 26%. Of the included trials, only 3 or 4% of the trials had been discontinued. Our results showed that surgical interventions for pediatric strabismus were the most common intervention used, and that few pediatric strabismus studies have been discontinued. Additionally, Egypt and the United States had the highest rates of registered pediatric strabismus clinical trials. Our study highlights the range of current clinical trials to help inform physicians and caregivers of individuals with pediatric strabismus.